Hello,
Hello,
and
and welcome
welcome back
back to.
to 2 Cents. This week we have a new guest, a new team member, what have you. We have a funny story to tell you all about our recent trip to the Big E State Fair. We just got back from that recently, and
Yep,
this little guy is an interesting story.
his name's Kevin.
His name is Kevin. We'll get into why Kevin is here joining us today. Then we're going to talk about, is college worth it?
Yeah.
I know last week we asked you all, what should we cover next? And a lot of you answered in the poll that you wanted to hear how we afforded our home and, what the costs of that were. We figured that this story is kind of time relevant, and is college worth it really ties into a recent trip we just got back from in New Orleans at the Trade Women's Conference with the IBEW. So we're
hmm
actually going to save the topic about our home costs and our budget for next week.
That's
So
yeah. That's also because we want to make sure that we got the numbers right for you guys.
that
So
too. That too. We need to do a little bit of digging and make sure that we're, giving you all the right figures and all of that. But yeah, let's get into it.
yeah.
So
So
Kevin. Hi
Kevin.
Kevin. That's I hope that's not how he sounds.
No.
How did Kevin join us on this couch,
Yeah.
James?
So we went to the Big E State
Mhm.
Fair. It was in Massachusetts, correct?
Yeah, we landed in Hartford, Connecticut, but
Yeah.
then we ended up having to drive 30 minutes to the Big East State Fair, which was in Springfield,
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Which beautiful location. I mean,
Oh my
we
God.
drove past some very old homes, and we have our house here, but it definitely made us consider moving out to
Pull
Massachusetts.
up Zillow.
All right.
And then we saw the prices and we pulled Zillow down.
Right, right. But yeah, overall, I think that the Big E went really well. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what is your takes from it?
The biggie went really, really well. This guy is tied to a negative, but it's a funny negative. Other than that, everything went amazing.
Yeah.
People came and said hi. If you're listening and you said hi and I don't know, somebody told us that they were listening to the podcast. So I appreciate you, sir, for telling us that you're listening. It was really cool that people came out and said hi to us and came to see us, whether they knew that we were going to be there or saw us and were like, "Whoa, what are you doing here?"
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool, and I appreciate everyone who said hi to us and, you know, told us their stories and why they appreciate what we do. That always just warms our hearts and makes us, excited to do what we do. We also got to interview some really cool people, some great careers, so many different industries. We got healthcare, trades, tech, business. I mean, you name it. I
Yeah.
feel like we kind of touched on every industry while we were out there unintentionally.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. I mean, like, we told you guys how we usually get kicked out of places,
We didn't get
but
kicked
we
out.
didn't get kicked out of the Big E, which thank you for that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Big E State
Um,
Fair.
but like she said, we had a bunch of people come up and say hi. We had one guy who said that he came to the Big East State Fair because we said that we were going to be there.
Shout out to
So we
you.
got to interview him and got to have a great interaction. And I mean,
He
like,
was so cute.
yeah,
His
like that's
friends were cheering him on. He did an interview.
yeah. I mean, like that's our whole thing. Like we said, you don't have to do interviews. Like if you want to just come say hi, come say hi. Like we love the fact that like we get to touch so many people's lives,
Mhm.
and you acknowledging that to us or telling us your story like that, that's our little energy boost, for the
Yeah,
day.
it can feel kinda lonely on the internet, like parasocial, like you're just kind of putting things out, and I guess 100,000 people see this video, but it is still very one-dimensional.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
definitely.
are people seeing this? Like, do people
Are those
care?
bots?
Right, and then you meet them in person and they tell you that your work matters, and I just can't tell you how great of a feeling that
Yeah, it
is.
was amazing. And then after that, so we so we did our interviews and everything. We did our TikTok.
I wanna turn the whole thing upside down. I'll find a thing.
Just know that like that was the most nerve-wracking feeling ever because we were standing in the middle of like hundreds of people, honestly. It was
So
hundreds of
many
people there.
people, and they kept coming next to us and near us, and what were you doing, James?
I was freaking out. That's what I
No,
was
you
doing.
were flipping me.
I was freaking out. But yeah, as we were getting ready to do it, she's like, "All right, let's go," because set a timer on the phone. And I
I
looked
wanted to
behind
move
us.
quickly
I wanted to
because,
too.
well, because they told us, when we walked in, no sticks. And
Right.
somehow I got in with my tripod. And I'm a rule follower. Like,
I'm
oh,
not.
breaking the rules makes me sweat. And I had my tripod out there, and somebody literally walked into it and knocked it over.
Meanwhile, the sheriffs, they had us stand maybe like 20, 30 feet away
They
from
were right
us.
across from
So
us.
so
So I
we're
was like,
freaking
we have
out.
10 seconds.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Hey, it went well though. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that
You
that
flipped me okay.
yeah. Right.
I landed on your foot.
Hey,
R.I.P.
a little bit of pain is
For
definitely
content.
worth it. And then yeah, as soon as we finished the interviews, which like I said went really well,
Mhm.
we was like, all right, it's our time to kind of relax. I mean, we didn't have much time before we flew
We
out.
had 30 minutes
Yeah.
before we decided to call it, and we actually should have left at that point because we'll get into the rush
Yeah. I
that
mean,
we
just
almost
luck.
missed our flight,
Yeah.
because of Kevin here. It
He
wasn't Kevin's
he
fault.
immediately joined the family and caused
It
problems.
caused
So
so many problems. So what happened, James? We went to go play some games.
yeah, so
I
they
kept seeing the otters and stuff, and I was like, I want an otter.
well, it
Like,
was either that or a bull.
mhm.
But
They had
it's
good plushies.
but
Like,
it's a carnival though. So
mhm.
like
A
oh
good carnival has good stuffed animal prizes. A
yeah.
bad carnival has really generic, nah, you don't care to win it. A good one is like, I will pay $100 to get this poop emoji pillow.
Yeah. But
That's a
like
good
at
carnival.
at the end of the day though, it's a carnival. So like a lot of the games that you play, you have to spend like pretty much what the prize is worth in order
Yeah.
to win the game. And we walked through all of the games until we finally came to the one where it was like this little balance. I don't know what the game was called. It was like two acrylic panels, and in between that, the ball would drop onto a rod, and like the rod was kind of like W shaped,
Yeah.
and you had to like level the ball till it landed in the divot, but once it gained momentum, it was
It would
yeah,
fly
it would
off
like
the
shoot
side.
off.
And that was your go.
Yeah,
You had to basically get this little ball that was out of control in the middle
and keep it
and
there.
keep it there.
Yeah,
And we spent $40?
30. Yeah, 30.
$30.
Yeah.
Okay, $30. He was really nice. He gave us 2 extra
Yeah, the
tries,
guy well, I mean, like, that's what kinda helped
and I won on the extra
yeah, I
try.
mean, like, that's kinda what helped us play the game because
Mhm.
we were, like, walking past these games and, like, nobody was really showing us any attention. I mean, like, I'm not
Not that
blaming
we
them. Yeah,
care,
not
yeah.
not not that I'm blaming them or anything, but, like, when we walked past his stand, he was like, "Hey," grabbed our attention. He was like, "Look,
Mhm.
this game is super simple."
Yeah.
He did it 3 times, and he's like, "You can do it." I was like,
Mhm.
"I get it.
He was nice
I'm
too.
not gonna be able to do it, but thank you for thank you for,
I did.
having faith in me." $30 later, we walked out with Kevin.
It was the last go that we had, and he gave us an extra go,
2 extra
2 extra
goals.
goes, and I was like, "Okay, we're not gonna win this, we're gonna walk away after this," and it was the last go, and somehow I managed to get the ball in between the thing, got it to balance. I didn't know what I wanted to buy because I really wanted the
The
otter, or
otter
buy, but get, but
win.
this little koala man, he's got all the qualifications.
Yeah.
He really
To
stood
come
out
home
to
with
me. He was
us.
so cute. And it's actually hilarious because you can probably see if I'm holding this thing walking through the fair,
She looks like a koala on
you can't
stilts.
hardly see me. He actually like covers almost my entire body. It's just like a big fluffy.
Yeah.
Look what I got. I don't know how we're gonna bring this on the plane.
I actually can hardly see you over him too. It's
Right.
hilarious.
But with that, so we
So we
won
won
Kevin.
Kevin.
She grabbed a candy apple, and then we realized
Mhm.
that it was really close to the time to where we needed to leave.
Basically, it was 3 o'clock and our flight was leaving at 4:50.
Yeah.
Like, we had about 2 hours to make it to the airport, and it was a 30-minute drive to the airport. We knew that if we called an Uber and got there, we'd have plenty of time. We're pros at this. We have TSA pre-check. We try to get as close to boarding time at the airport as possible and not waste as much time in the airport. So we figured we leave at 3, we've got plenty of time. That's not what happened.
No.
What happened, James?
Springfield, Massachusetts. seemed as though it did not have the infrastructure for the Big E. There was like four streets leading to where the Big E was held, and
One way.
all of them were two-lane roads that were backed up. And I meant like not just like a few cars; they were all backed up a mile away.
Mhm.
We called the Uber because we weren't getting any reception.
Service was so bad.
Uh,
That was the biggest problem.
yeah, so we called an Uber while we waited at the coffee shop that was there. Yeah, he texted. He was like, "I'm about 10 minutes away," but on the map, he was literally like 5.
He was down the road,
Yeah, easy.
and we were like, "Okay, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait." 30 minutes pass. An hour passes, and we still don't have an Uber. And our plane leaves in now an hour.
Yeah,
So we decided our Uber was literally just stuck in traffic. That traffic was
it
not
was
moving.
not moving at all.
We had tried calling new Ubers, we tried to see if we could get somebody else. We tried Lyft, we tried everything, and it was the same thing for everyone. Every single person was stuck in this line for traffic. So we basically had no other choice. Also, that was the last flight
Yeah,
leaving the
last flight.
airport. Like all those flights, actually it was 5:19 p.m. I remember. So we decided we're going to walk.
Yeah,
And we're not against it. Like that's what we had to do actually when we arrived at the fair. Our Uber got stuck in that traffic on the way, so we ditched the Uber and walked about a mile to the
about a
fair.
mile and a half.
Mile and a half. We ended up walking, I would venture to say 2 miles
Yeah,
to
with
Buddy
this.
with this Mr. Kevin.
And because she won it and it was her prize,
I had to carry it.
she wanted to carry it. Don't make it seem as though like I was forcing you to carry it.
I just figured, you gotta carry what you win.
Yeah. And the funniest part about it was that so like there weren't sidewalks and we were just walking right past all of these cars that's waiting to head into the Big E.
Mhm.
And as we're walking, we're speed walking, we're a little
We are
we're
booking it.
booking it.
Booking
And
it.
I mean like
Sweating.
we weren't like pissed, but we were pretty upset.
Yeah, just kinda like not in a talking
Yeah, not in
mood,
the talking
like
mood.
We need to book it to this or we're gonna miss our flight." It was the last flight leaving.
Yeah.
We did not have any intention on spending the night in Hartford, Connecticut. We didn't want to. We wanted to
No.
get back home to our babies, and we were out of breath, sweating. It was hot,
Yeah.
carrying Mr.
And
Kevin.
and as we're walking past people, they're seeing this little lady carrying this huge koala, and everybody's smiling, they're rolling
So
down windows,
cute.
you
Where'd
know,
you get
like, "Where'd you
that?
get that? That's so cute." And like,
Did he win that for you?
I guess like this is the whole like being quote unquote famous
Quote
portion.
unquote.
But like, completely miserable, and we
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 were
hear
miserable.
somebody say, so cute and giggle and stuff, and we like turn, smile, put on the happy
Fake
face,
face,
like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, it's just right
Yeah,
down there at the carnival
everything's
or at the
great.
yeah, at the fair, like check it out." And then immediately turn back and stale
Stale.
face. Like, let's move. Well, yeah.
Oh my
Also,
gosh, it was miserable. My feet hurt so bad by the
yeah,
time we reached him. And then the worst part was when we reached our Uber, he still had to stay in traffic
yeah, you have
until
to sit
he
in
we
traffic
we literally were not moving
until we hit
for
a turnaround
10,
point.
15 minutes. Somehow we made it to the airport. Our flight was leaving at 5:20. We got to the airport and through security, mind you, there was nobody in TSA pre-check.
Yeah, it
Like
was
it,
super
it was
nice.
so annoying because I was like, man, this would have been the easiest airport experience if we weren't in a rush and
Yeah,
about to miss our flight. And so we get through, security and everything, and I decide to run to the gate because
which thankfully.
thankfully I did, even though at that point we knew that we had already like missed the flight.
Yeah, the
Like they
doors
weren't
was
gonna let us
closed, we
on.
do that.
We knew that. But I just didn't want to walk up there and, just
Be
mosey my way and
lackadaisical.
be like, "Hey, I just missed my flight. What can you do for me?" I wanted to show that we had like urgency. We didn't intend to miss the flight. We tried everything we could. It was just the traffic. And so I run. I'm like, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna see if that makes a difference. I don't know. And it did because I got there and the lady was like, "Doors closed. Sorry, not able to help you." And I'm in the middle of asking her, what can we do? Because I paid for insurance on the flight, does that cover it? In the middle of that, and she's about to tell me, like, no, you're SOL. The door opens behind her, and an agent comes out and tells this agent that I was just talking to, there's a delay in DC. They're gonna be grounded on the tarmac for another hour. And I look at him and I'm like,
Can we get on?
can we get on this flight? Like, oh my God, are we able to get on this flight? And she looks at me and she's like, let me check. And he went and checked with like the pilot or
Yeah.
whatever, and he came back on, and sure enough,
The most amazing guy too. He
such
goes,
a nice
yeah, he
guy.
goes, "Are you the two that we were missing? The two that's flying together?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's
No,
us."
cause she had asked me where she was like, "Don't you have somebody else with you?" And at that point, James was just strolling his way behind us.
I had already accepted defeat. I was like, "Man, I'm not running if I
And
don't
I was
have
like,
to."
"That's him, he's coming up." Like, I ran, he already, like, gave up, and
Yeah.
sure enough, thank God I ran
Don't
because
say it like I'm a loser. I didn't give
I
up.
didn't mean it like that. No.
I gave up, quote unquote, but yeah.
Yeah, you
I
had
was
you
done.
had
That's what it
accepted
was. Yeah,
defeat.
I was done.
And but sure, like, thank God I ran because if not, we would have missed the agent who had
Yeah,
come out and said that they were delayed. We were this close to booking another flight.
yeah,
We were gonna go to Dulles. We were gonna fly at another
yeah.
flight
Landon
2 hours
Dulles.
later and land in Dulles, which would have been a long drive for us. And it's
Landed
all because of Kevin.
Yeah, we made the flight,
Just
landed
kidding.
on time and everything. One of the, flight attendants actually seen Kevin strapped in next
I
to her.
put Kevin the thing was the flight wasn't even full.
Yeah, it
It was
wasn't
it
full.
was pretty empty, and we had, 3 rows. James and I took the middle, you took the window, and this is a big dude. This is a big guy. I did not think
Look at
that I
that.
was gonna be able to put him in the overhead, and I wasn't gonna stuff him under the seat. So I put him in the seat next to me,
Buckle the
strapped him
man.
in, and the flight attendant walked by and she was like, "That is so cute. Can I get a picture?" I said, "Yeah, of course." She's like, "That just made my day," and
Yeah,
ended up being
actually.
a really
Yeah, let
sweet
me see. Kevin,
experience.
move.
All right, let's get rid of Kevin. We're
Yeah.
done with our
Alright,
story.
say bye, Kevin.
Bye,
Kevin the
Kevin.
koala. Okay. But with that, I mean, that leads into our next trip, which where did we just come from?
New Orleans, NOLA.
NOLA.
We went to the IBEW Women's Conference.
International Women's Conference.
International Women's
Yeah.
Conference. Thank you. I keep forgetting that one bit because there were people from Canada there
Correct.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't see any other countries, but I guess Canada makes it international for sure. It would have been so cool to hear from like Mexico or
Yeah, like
France.
Mexico.
Like, how cool would that have
Yeah.
been? But we were invited out by the IBEW. Shout out them. Oh my gosh, the IBEW. What a phenomenal organization.
Yes.
First and foremost, the people,
The people.
the people that work for IBEW are just the nicest people
No,
that
and you can tell like that they actually enjoy their work too. I
yes.
mean, everybody that we met with that worked for the IBEW,
Mhm.
um,
IBU?
the
IB?
IBU, yeah.
IBU?
But every one of them, like they loved what they did,
Mhm.
and like you can see the passion
Mhm.
as we spoke with them, which was amazing. Like it's so refreshing seeing people who love what they do, honestly. I mean, because
Facts.
we interview so many different types of people and so many different types of industries, and you can tell when somebody doesn't really love what they do.
Oh, you can spot it
Yeah,
in the first sentence. I immediately pick up that vibe. And usually when I ask them if they feel well compensated, that's when they're like,
exactly.
mm.
But yeah, the conference was amazing. It was held
Mhm.
in New Orleans,
Mhm.
NOLA, at the Hilton.
Yeah.
When we got there, we were like seeing people file out that were all like participants.
Mhm.
I guess going on break. So we're thinking like, oh, maybe it's just a few people.
Mhm.
Like it can't be that many people. But as soon as we got up to the conference floor, like you just seen hundreds of people filing out because they were going on break.
Mhm. And they told us that the attendance at this conference was double what
Yeah,
it was last year, and for the first time ever, they had a wait
they had a
list.
wait
Like
list.
a long wait list, which
Yeah.
is awesome. Good for them.
Which
They
shows
deserve
that
it.
it shows that it's growing, and like one of the things that they kept harping on too, because it's the IBEW International Women's Conference, but like they kept harping on the fact that like it's open to everyone, you know.
Yeah.
So like we seen women there, and
There were
of course,
men
yeah,
there.
of course we seen men there,
Mhm.
and everyone was just so supportive of each other while we were there, you
Mhm.
know. So it was amazing.
It was a beautiful thing to be privy to,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
definitely.
And it really, when we walked away from it, you'll see the interviews coming out soon, but I interviewed 21 women.
21.
21. 21.
21.
They all made significant
Yeah,
wages.
really good money.
And what was really interesting that we've touched on with union jobs before, but it's 100% different than what a 9 to 5, corporate salary is, in the fact that their pay is structured as though they get base pay, like a base rate that's hourly, and then all their benefits are on top of
Yeah,
that.
on top of that, it's not coming out of their
Mhm.
paycheck, which
Yeah,
is completely different because like as contractors, you know, like I said, I was making 112, right?
right.
Making 112, that sounds really well,
Mhm.
but my 401k comes out of that, my
Yep.
dental comes out of that, my healthcare comes out of that. Like, so I'm not really making 112,
No.
but in each and every one of those interviews, we'd ask them, how much are you making? What's your
Mhm.
wage? And they'd say, $69 an hour.
And I'd be like, "Is that your total pay or, like, base rate?" And they're like, "No, that's my base
Yeah,
rate."
that's base.
And I'm like, "What's your total compensation?" They
One,
wouldn't blink and they'd be
yeah,
like,
112.
112.
And that's because now everything else is added on to that, which is
Yep.
crazy.
So they're making, in this example, like $65 an hour. Imagine making $65 an hour, and then you get an extra $12 an hour for your 401k or your pension. You get an extra $15 an hour for your health insurance. You get an extra $20 an hour. I'm making all these numbers
Yeah.
up, but that's how their pay is
Yeah.
structured,
And I
and
mean,
that's amazing.
especially because like they had pretty much two retirement plans as
Some
well.
had 3.
Yeah. So I mean like you're not only set up for now
Mhm.
making, your hourly rate, but then also you're making money for when you do retire. You have a
Yeah.
pension and you have annuity or a pension and 401k. Like it was honestly it was just mind blowing.
Mhm.
And we actually had the conversation afterwards that
Mhm.
like if we honestly
Yeah.
after doing these interviews, if we weren't doing this,
Trade.
I'd definitely be going into a trade.
100%, because and that's what we're going to talk about in this episode today is college worth it, to make significant wages, because what this got us thinking about is you don't have to pay to make money. Like, in these
Exactly.
trade jobs, every single one of them talked about how they got into it with no experience, no education, starting from ground zero, and in their apprenticeships, they
And
get paid to learn.
exactly.
Imagine if you got paid to go to college to learn your discipline.
And it's not like I mean, because at one
Crazy.
point in time I sold cars, or
Mhm.
before that I sold windows and roofs.
Yep.
During my training portion, which was 2 months, I
Mhm.
made $200 every 2 weeks. So
Hmm.
like that's technically paid training.
Mhm.
But speaking with them, their apprenticeship is roughly 5 years,
Yeah.
and throughout your apprenticeship, each year you're automatically getting a raise.
And they're getting paid solid wages. It's not $200 a week. They're
Exactly.
making like those
Well,
$25 an
that's
hour.
so one of them that we interviewed, she had the active pay scale, which side note, interviewing all these women, we got to see that like women tend to be more specific when it comes to
Oh, it's a
their rate,
fact. And it really leans into the whole, how women are different from men, that they feel like they have to have exactly what is
Exact.
required to qualify. And I
Yeah,
had a conversation about that with one of the women I interviewed. About She talked about the statistics that women on average feel like they have to have 80
80
to
to 90%.
90% of a job's requirements to feel like they're qualified for the job. Do you remember what it was for men?
50%.
50%. 50%. And that was really coming out in the conversations with them, because almost every single one of them was like, wait, 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 I need to make sure I give you the exact range.
Yeah,
And I told them, this is so fascinating, because the women are always the ones that really want to give an
exact
exact number.
number.
They don't want to be wrong. and the men, for lack of a better term, kind of just free ball it. And
Yeah.
I'm not speaking all men. I'm
Not
just
all
saying
men.
average. I'm
Yeah.
just saying average, the Finn bros and stuff. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. But
I
it's
make
just
2 mil a
fascinating.
month.
It's really fascinating how that imposter syndrome and feeling worthy comes out in our jobs.
Yeah. But with that, one of the women, she mentioned that the current rate, because a lot of them were electricians.
Oh, they were all
Yeah,
electricians for the most part.
for the most part. And the going rate for a first year electrician apprentice was $38 an hour.
Beautiful.
Take home. Take home.
Man.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Imagine that. And they were all what was fascinating was they were all from different areas, like
Different
Canada,
backgrounds too.
different states, and all their wages, sometimes I would hear ones that had more experience and they were making like 20 or 30 base rate. And I'm like, that's way lower than, the 60 I heard. But it's because those workers were in Idaho or
Yeah.
Utah, and the ones that were making 60 were in Boston
Or in the
or
Bay
the Bay
Area.
Area. So their wages are all dependent really on that cost of
Yeah,
living,
cost of living.
and they're all making a solid wage.
Yeah, definitely. And like she said, a lot of them were from, all of them were from different backgrounds. We
Mhm.
had a former
A
archaeologist.
former archaeologist, and she was a full-on like, she went to school for it, she was a practicing archaeologist, and she quit to become an electrician, and
Yeah,
she's making way more
crazy.
now.
Veterans,
Veterans,
teachers,
teachers.
the amount of people that stepped into that job field with no prior experience was
Mhm.
astounding, honestly.
Yeah.
And it
It
just
was
goes to
wonderful.
yeah, and it just goes to show that like maybe more people should start looking into trade work, because
Mhm.
if those were just electricians, imagine plumbers,
Yeah.
I don't know other trades.
Insulators,
Yeah.
HVAC.
HVAC. Actually, one of them was an HVAC tech
Yeah.
that moved over to electric work.
She sure was. Yeah, roofing. I mean, and there's a lot of different trades in cosmetology as well.
Yeah,
Hairdressing is a trade. Being a tattoo artist is a trade. Nail tech.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just really interesting. And when we left, we had a solid conversation there for a little bit about, is college worth it with these opportunities that exist that people may not know about? So it made me think about other jobs that you can do that are similar, that you
yeah.
don't need a
Uh,
4 year degree for. You don't have to pay a lot of money to start. And I want to explore a couple of those in this episode. If
yeah.
anybody's listening and thinking about things that they can do, without needing to get the 4 year degree, because it's costly.
Or
The
even, not wanting to go directly into, corporate work.
Right. Yeah. And so I look at us as a really good example. What we do, we made $1 million. That's a crazy statement. And we did it all without needing a resume, without needing to go to college. I mean, granted, the idea came about because I did those things and found out I was underpaid and I realized the system is broken. But anybody can use their phone
Yeah,
in their hand right now to start creating what we did. Our mics that we bought that we use on in our videos were $100.
maybe.
Maybe a hundred
Yeah.
bucks. We use our phone to film. We spent $25 on our original logo. Literally all in all, less than a $200 investment to
Yeah,
start our
less
channel.
less than a weekend out when we were partying. That was honestly, like, if we went to the club, that was what we were spending on average
To
every weekend.
start Salary
Yeah.
Transparent. And anybody wanting to pick up their camera, their phone, and do something similar, don't copy us.
Yeah.
But
But with
if
that
you
though,
want to create content, it's such a low lift, and you don't need to go to college to prove that you can do it.
right, and with that, I actually just seen a video today where it was a content creator talking about content creation.
Mm,
And one thing that they mentioned that I really like took to heart, because like it makes sense. But he actually brought up the fact that, like, if you are a content creator, you don't have to look for a niche necessarily.
mm,
Like, you being a content creator, that's your niche, period. So whatever
facts.
content you make is your content. People will find you. You just have to start making content.
Just have to start. We did a great episode a couple weeks back about our best practices for working in social media. So if you're listening to this for the first time, hello.
Hello.
Hi. Be sure to take a listen to that episode because we give a lot of our tips related to content specifically.
Yeah.
But there's so many other careers. Like once we started talking, there's so many things you can do. One of my favorite very random jobs that really fits that blueprint of a job that you don't need a resume or background or college degree for. This guy is a full-time Henry VIII
Impersonator.
impersonator. Like,
Yeah.
full-on Henry VIII impersonator. That is his full-time job. He used to be a delivery driver. He did a whole article with Business Insider that I read, and he realized, people would tell him, "You look like Henry VIII." And so he, I guess, took on a gig, realized he loved it, quit his job, and now he does that full-time. And by full-time, he makes a living impersonating a historical character, how he makes money, these experiences. You get to have dinner with him and his wife, Anne Boleyn,
Fully in character.
fully in character. You get to go, on a tour with him in certain areas, and he is in character giving the tour. It's just fascinating what people can make money doing. And
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite examples
Well,
of
because I
that.
think that we're taught to think that a way to make a living is the traditional way.
Hmm.
Going into an office, working 9 to 5. But I mean, even if you watch our videos, some of our prior videos, we had the water vendor,
Yeah. The hot dog stand.
hot dog stand, really good money.
This water vendor made $1,000 a week selling water outside the White House. I mean, talk about quality
Yeah.
H2O.
Since we have this idea that we need to do a traditional job, people don't tend to look into those other fields or areas.
Or be
Uh,
creative.
or be creative. And the thing is that like we as humans, we as individuals, we all want to do something individually. And with that, all you really have to do is just find a problem and find a way to solve it. I mean,
Mhm.
that's exactly what a mechanic is. That's exactly
Mhm.
what an electrician is. That, like a corporate consultant, that's exactly what they do. Find problems and fix them. Now,
Yeah.
just do that, but not in the traditional sense.
Yeah, find it in your community. There's I have an article that I want to pull up because they really talk about all these different they talk about all these different jobs that I think are just so fascinating that also fit that. So let a couple, a paranormal guide makes $30 to $40 an hour.
Oh, that's super cool. We did one in New Orleans.
We sure did. Paranormal guide makes $30 to $40 an hour. That was a fun experience. We
Yeah, it
did like a
was.
haunted tour, and I don't know if it would be if he qualified technically as a paranormal guide,
Yeah,
but
I mean, kind of,
who
but
qualifies as that though? Like what degree do you
yeah.
have to get? What certification do you
Well,
have
I
to
think
get
that's
to
more so
qualify for
like
that?
like if you're a history buff, like
Yeah.
that sounds like a good job for you.
Yeah, or you like paranormal stuff. That's a great job.
Yeah.
A snake milker? Do you know how much a snake milker makes?
No, but that sounds perverted.
No, so actually, snakes obviously aren't mammals, so that's not the kind of milking we're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's fang milking.
It's fang milking, yeah, so that antidotes may be developed. So it's actually a really important job because it
50 to
saves
60K?
thousands of lives every year, 2,000 to 5,000 per month.
Wow.
Yeah,
Actually, so yeah, I was right about on
about
point.
60K.
Yeah, about 60K.
This is interesting. A pet psychologist. They
Mm,
make about $52,000 a year. And I guess that they just, look for signs of depression and anxiety, and they help us better diagnose our pets and offer suggestions as to how to make things better. So
that's
I
super
guess if
cool.
you're just good with animals, that would be a really good job for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't need a pet psychology degree to do it. This one's kind of gross. I don't know if I'd want to do it. Earning potential is $45,000 per year, though. So, when you look at those numbers, it's crazy because $45,000 per year, we've interviewed teachers with master's degrees making that.
Yeah.
And you can make that being a dog food taster.
Ooh.
That is a real job.
Can we do it for cat food? Because cat food kind of smells good. Not gonna lie.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want that job. That's kind of gross. But somebody, I guess, does have to taste it, and they make a good living doing it. Another one is a professional cuddler. This is gonna shock
Actually,
you.
I've seen videos of that, and it's going like it's been going around on TikTok because
Mm-hmm.
Kai Sanat
Kai Cenat.
he ordered a professional cuddler. Yeah, and since then, like she's been doing videos on her own with like other creators and stuff, like
That's
talking about
fascinating.
what it is to be a professional cuddler. Yeah.
Do you know how much they make?
Bank. I know that.
They make $40 to $80 per hour.
Mm,
More than some of the electricians we
that's
interviewed
crazy.
to cuddle. So, I mean,
Hey,
I don't know about you, but if you like to cuddle, this might be the job for you.
people are lonely nowadays, so it makes sense.
That is true. That is true. You can also be a movie watcher. They don't say what the pay is here, but Netflix has a job where they hire people to watch, rate, tag, and annotate their shows. You can be a professional mourner. I guess people pay people to show up to their funerals and mourn them. You can be a professional bridesmaid, $21 an hour to show up and act like a bridesmaid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many jobs out there that are unique, creative, do not require a college degree, and you can make bank.
Yeah, and I mean, and some people, because I know we have a lot of people, that, listening or watching this, going, "I'm not just gonna quit my job to do this." Rightfully so,
Mhm.
but I meant like that's kind of what a side gig is for.
It's a side hustle.
So you
Start.
so you slowly start doing it when you have free time,
Mhm.
and then eventually you get to the point to where you're like, "I'm gonna be a professional cuddler because I'm getting paid more to do that than my job."
My
Like so.
current job that
Yeah,
I got a degree for. And all this to say, the whole overarching question, is college worth it? I think is a very dicey answer. It really depends on what you want to do.
in your
There
financial state as
in your
well.
financial state, there are jobs that you do need a degree for to excel. Now, you can become a software engineer without a degree, but it's starting to be that they really care about
Formal
that
training.
formal training. You can get it in a certificate, you can get it in a course, but there are so many jobs that you don't need that.
Yeah.
And our job right now is one that's literally make believe. I created my job out of thin air. I asked people what they do for a living and how much they make. We made $1 million.
We. Yeah.
Keyword we. But that's the point. Use your creativity, find a problem, and fix it. I think being an entrepreneur, being self employed, that is the best job.
Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't trade this for anything. I mean, I've had a lot of different job experiences in my life, and honestly, this one is the best. And I get to do it with my
Agree.
best friend.
And your wife.
You my best friend first, then you my wife.
You my
Even though you ain't wearing your
friend.
ring,
Oh shit, I'm forgetting my ring.
she don't love me.
That's my bad. I don't know. I totally forgot it today. I promise I'm married. This is my husband.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting. I think there's so many careers out there for everyone, just depending on what you want to do with your life, what your goals are, and there's a lot of money to be made out there in wacky jobs.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, I guess like that'll wrap this episode.
That wraps this episode
Yeah, so join us next week. We'll do our house breakdown as well as
and
the
our
budget break.
budget.
Yeah.
We'll get into all the details, the money, the figures, everything.
Yeah, yeah. And as always, we're transparent. So look forward to that.
Yeah, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.